Welcome to Virtual Equity. I'm Lindsey, and today I'm with my partner Nicole. We're the founders of Unified Linc. We're bridging the gap between business owners who are ready to grow and the talented people who want to help them get there. Because when the right structure meets the right people, that's when businesses stop surviving and start thriving. Whether you're building something or looking to be part of something more, you're in the right place. Let's get into it.
My name's Nicole.
And I'm Lindsey.
And hi, Lindsay. We're
Hey.
back. Uh, so we are with Unified Linc, and we help small businesses feel a little bit less chaotic. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more today, right? So one of the things that I've really noticed when I'm talking to friends that own businesses, different colleagues, is that they're almost always going to tell you they're stressed in some shape, way, or form. And it's not because they're terrible at what they do, right? Typically, when we're in business, we're doing something that we love to do. But what I've noticed is that even though they love what they're doing, they're great at what they're creating, they're building, they're selling, they're helping people, whatever it is that they built their business around, it starts getting really overwhelming when the things behind the scenes start piling on. So the hiring, the communication, their follow-up, what organization system they have, what systems do they have in place, and just the constant juggling of 100 different moving pieces. So I think small businesses hit a point where the business itself isn't necessarily failing or doing poorly. It's just becomes really hard to manage operationally. And that makes it feel very chaotic. And that's kind of really what I wanted to talk about today and get your feedback on it.
I have to say, as you're like talking about it and giving the intro, I kind of think that like one of the growth things that happens is you don't know what you don't know until you know. You know what I'm saying? Like you like start your business and you're like chugging along and you're like, this is fine. I can do all of it. It's no big deal. And then you start understanding regulations and compliance and requirements and communication with employees and you start hiring people and you're trying to get them to do what you want. And you realize like, oh, it got hard because now I realize what I'm supposed to do and how it's supposed to work. And now I have to figure it out. I can't just have like blinders on and just like go with what I've been doing. I've got to actually like fix the problems, do the things, and all of that stuff, especially when you start adding employees. That's probably like the hardest part of things is like getting people onboarded, getting them going, getting them to agree with the vision, and then getting them to stay on those tasks and those visions and that direction. And that can feel very chaotic. So when you said that, I was like, it's like you don't know what you don't know. And then all of a sudden the blinders come off and you're like, oh, now I know. And that's a lot.
And I think a lot of times you don't expect to grow quickly. Sometimes I think you start and you're just like, it's a passion project, or I'll get to it when I get to it. We'll cross that bridge when it's a tomorrow problem. And a lot of times it's like that tomorrow is like that, okay, that's now. Like that tomorrow problem we talked about, that in a couple of months problem, like that came a lot faster than I thought. And so I think it's great to grow, but I think if you're not prepared for it, with the growth comes the chaos. And that's when things start getting really messy and the communication gets messy. The hiring becomes reactive, right? So you start finding people to help you, and maybe you didn't think, what does the ideal employee for me look like? Who do I hire? Who do I bring in? And sometimes it's our family members that end up helping us out, and you're just like, wait, we haven't worked together before. Let's talk about what I need from you, right? And then the systems can't keep up because maybe your system is an Excel spreadsheet that you're like, oh yeah, okay, that's not helping me anymore. Or it's that post-it note on the wall on the computer screen that you'll get to it. It's the receipts you left in the car somewhere that you're like, let me go find that because I have to add it to my balance sheet or something. And it just feels chaotic. So you start feeling like this passion project, this thing that brought you so much joy, starts feeling overwhelmed because now you're like, now I know. Now I know what it takes. And now I have to sit down and take care of the boring stuff that doesn't bring me joy, right?
Yeah, it's funny when you're building like a business and a company and it's going through rapid growth. The best way to like the best analogy I can think of is like you're building a ship, right? And there are holes in it. And so you're just kind of like plugging it with your fingers until you can like get through that hole, and then you're like, okay, let me go patch this hole and this hole. And it's crazy because it seems it seems like counterproductive to be like, I need to have the process, the system, the plan in place before I bring people on. But what happens, somebody from operations, like in who's heavy operations, what happens is you don't think it's a problem. And then you're like, oh, well, I've got this like general idea of how things are going to go. But the minute you apply pressure, whether that's people, more customers, like a new problem, the minute you apply any kind of pressure, everything starts to crumble. And when it starts to crumble, you're now holding it. And you cannot
Mhm.
hold and grow your business at the same time. Like those two things cannot exist simultaneously. You're either holding or you're growing. You cannot do both effectively.
I think you become the catch-all drawer, right? Like you become the person that has to plug all the holes and you feel can feel very isolating and you're just kind of like, cool, I'm the only one going down with this ship. But that's why it's so important, I think, to hire the people that are going to help you when maybe you already feel like you're drowning. And it's so important to be intentional and not wait until you're already overwhelmed, till you're already behind, till you're already stressed out and desperate, right? Because a lot of times, and I think especially for CEOs, for small business owners, even we see this in all industries. It can be construction, it could be service, it could be agencies, retail. You see that a lot of times it's very difficult to ask for help, or because you're so in it and looking down, you don't even realize that you need the help until you look up and you're just like, what just happened? I need, and at that point, you're making very reactive decisions. So instead of building a process, you're just trying to find whatever's going to plug those holes that are going to allow you to kind of continue to grow. But at that point, your growth has already become somewhat stagnant, right? Because you can only do so much on your own, and hiring someone, especially if they're maybe not the right fit because you didn't think what the right fit would be, now you're training on top of trying to grow something. And that's going to create unclear expectations for someone you're hiring. It's going to you're going to see an inconsistent training, you're going to see communication problems, and there's going to be frustration on both sides. And so it's not that nobody cares about what they're doing, right? It's not that the person you hired doesn't care. It's just that you need to help them understand what they need to do, um, and understand that you don't want to create a people problem. And it's not a people problem, it's a process problem. Even if it's just two of you in there, you have to have an established process.
Yeah, I mean, that is definitely true. Anytime it's not a solo, right? You have to learn to communicate and you have to be able to like communicate your clear expectations. And then when people are picking up tasks, you have to have a very clear way of like assigning the task. Whose ownership of a task is so important, or that task just falls to the wayside, right? Like somebody has to take ownership. You have to know how to do it. Otherwise, everybody's stepping on each other's toes. You're constantly being like, did you do it? Am I doing it? Like it's very unproductive. And once you're unproductive again, you start being reactive. You're not being proactive and you're no longer building. You're just holding for sure. Yes.
Yeah. I think anytime you hire and any good employee, they need structure, they need communication. They are going to have that clear expectation and understand what are they accountable for. Because without any of that, even someone who may be a strong hire is going to struggle, right? No one can read. Oh, what do we always complain about, right? Like our partners can't read our minds type of thing. And it's like, well, if you've never vocalized what you need, what you want, and it's like there's no discussion that can be had around it. And that really leads to the communication piece. So it's so important that especially small businesses, when you look at it, most of the time they're going to run off text messages, phone calls, just hey, I told you this, and you're screaming it probably from across the room or something like that, or as you're running out the door to take care of something. And so it's like a DM, a random note, or just like, well, don't you remember we had that conversation? I have terrible memory. It's like, no, I probably don't remember what you told me 2 weeks ago. What do you want me to do? So it has to work, especially as the business is growing. Um, and I think having that established communication piece is going to help you grow and not feel so chaotic.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, and I've been in places, obviously we've all worked in office, right? Most of us have worked in office at some point in time. And there's definitely a difference in the way that communication happens if you're in office or if you have a remote office or if you're working in separate areas, right? Like all of that makes a difference. And the communication to that is key. And that communication looks different. And one thing I've noticed is that it's really hard to translate in office communication to remote if you're not used to a remote setting, right? Like
Mhm.
if you're not used to working directly with somebody in an office. And I feel like obviously with COVID, a lot of us have kind of like moved into those roles for a bit. Now everybody's kind of moving back, but there's still a lot of like more hybrid, I guess is really what it is. Construction teams, things like that. Like your project managers, they're out in the field. Construction workers are all on different projects. There's like a central hub for the way that the information is going to be disseminated. And so it's very important that you have a very clear chain of command, communication processes, and like how it's all going to happen because the people in the office have the information and the people in the field need the information. It's like how are you going to effectively get that to everybody in the way that it needs to, and without process systems and understanding of how communication is going to flow, like that's going to crumble, it's going to fall apart, deadlines are going to get missed, people are showing up to wrong projects, like teams are not put together where they need to be. Like it's very, very inefficient if you don't understand what your communication needs to look like, and who all needs to be involved with that for sure. Which even setting up communication is a process and system in itself, in which you have to understand what tools you're using and how that information is going to flow, along with like the hierarchy of that information, which is so crazy to think that it all like ties in. And if you don't have it, it all just kind of crumbles, right? Like, doesn't matter. It all crumbles. If you are not solo, it's going to crumble without it for sure.
I think we can sometimes become the own bottlenecks in like our own organizations and what we're doing because in the initial stages, I think it's all hustle. You're just trying to figure it out. You're just kind of surviving and like, well, we'll see how we get there. And eventually the hustle stops you from being able to scale, right? And so that's when you're going to realize like, okay, why am I not growing anymore? And you're going to realize that maybe you don't have those workflows. You don't have your standard operating procedures. You don't have the organization, the automation. You don't have clear processes, and everything is just manual and it depends solely on you. And so it's as your business grows, you can't just have a business depend on you. You have to have the ability to start releasing some of those day-to-day tasks and have the right people in place so that you can continue being the architect of the business, right? And you can continue building and growing and scaling and offload some of those tasks that maybe just don't give you the time of day to really look at some of the other things, right? So it's so important to be able to look up instead of constantly looking down. Um, and so I think a lot of times it's not that you're overwhelmed, you're not doing what you should be doing. I think you're just understructured. You don't have the structure in your business to continue to help you grow and take some of those things off of your plate. Um, and I think that those are just operational fixes. They're systems that you can put in place. Um, and have organizations like Unified Linc to come in and look at your systems, look at your flows, look at your hiring process, your onboarding process, and help you get to that next level.
Yeah, I will say nothing is worse than hiring and then trying to onboard and you have a messy onboarding. Nothing turns employees off faster than chaos when they first start. If it is chaotic, they start feeling unsure of what you're capable of, what your longevity is, what kind of decision making you can do, and they start second guessing the decision that they made to throw all their eggs in your basket, right? Like it can cripple you, and those people will quickly leave. And you'll find yourself just on a revolving door of trying to hire people and get them going, and you're not going to get past the first, like even if you get them onboarded and you don't have the training play in place, like again, it creates that same uncertainty, and there's no faith, and they leave. So it's
Yeah.
so important.
Well, I think a lot of times when you onboard someone, you think we have an application. I did their I-9, I got their background check, I got everything going. They're here, they showed up, you're onboarded. And that's not really where onboarding stops. It's you have to integrate that person into the day-to-day and truly help them understand what is the culture. That way, maybe when they come to you with questions, eventually they don't have to come to you with those questions because they can already like, well, no, Nicole likes things done a specific way, and I know what she's going to want me to do. But it takes a while to get people to that point. So you can't think that someone just walked through your door or logged in for the day and they automatically know what the expectations are. That's part of the onboarding process. And it's probably the most important part of the onboarding process. Getting them through the door, getting them to understand your organization, getting them to understand the expectations, the systems, the processes. Because if not, you're setting them up for failure.
That is so true. So true. So important.
Well, those were kind of the things I wanted to kind of talk about today. I don't know if there was anything else you can think of to add.
No, I agree. I think it's so important to have those three things to like calm your business, calm your chaos. And if you haven't started looking at that and you're like, I'm just so stressed, I don't even know where to begin, that's where companies like us come in, and we can help you evaluate where what you're doing, where the chaos is, and then help you streamline those processes so that you can start growing that business, start calming that chaos, and not feel so chaotic, in your day to day as you're growing. Because if you're in chaos, you're going to cause your company to become stagnant, and it's not going to grow anymore. So yes, I think that they are extremely important for growth. And again, if you're just like, I don't even know where to begin, that's where companies like us, we can come in, we can help you, and we can get things going.
Awesome.
All right. We'll talk to you guys soon.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening to Virtual Equity. If this resonated with you, share it with business owners who need to hear it, or with someone who's ready to find their place. We're Unified Linc, and we help businesses build the structure and find the people to grow the right way. Find us at unifiedlinc.com. Again, that's unifiedlinc, Linc.com, and follow us on social media. We'll see you next episode.